I was wrong about Halo's REQ weapons. Yeah, I know, that's pretty rich coming from me, considering I've done nothing but poo-poo them for years. But here I am, ready to eat my words. I like Halo's weapon variants, or at least I really like the idea of them. And when I see even a fraction of that potential realized, I get excited, because when Halo's weapon variants are creative or clever, they benefit the games they're in ways the developers probably never dreamed. So back in 2015, Halo 5 introduced this REQ system. You spun loot boxes, got consumable weapons, and spawned those weapons into the game's Warzone mode. Once you're out of consumables, you go back to the loot boxes and keep spinning for more. It sucked for a while. These guns weren't available in Forge or custom games, only Warzone, and after much pleading, begging, and demanding, 343 added the REQ weapons to Forge and customs, and there was much rejoicing in the fanbase. There were variants like the Void's Tear, which could make mini black holes, the Delta Beam Rifle, basically the same idea but as a sniper. The Ad Victorium let you fire missiles that you could manually steer. And that's not even getting into the throwback weapons, the Halo 2 Battle Rifle, the Brute Plasma Rifle, the Halo 1 pistol, the Reach grenade launcher, the Halo 2 beam rifle, which I guess I already sort of spoiled. All of these weapons were balanced sort of like their original counterparts, except for the Brute Plasma Rifle. That thing was really powerful. They even gave players access to weapons that, for as long as time immemorial, had always been unusable, like the cannons hunters use, and George's chain gun from Halo Reach, which healed a wound that child me had back in 2010 when I couldn't find it in the Forge menu. But as cool as all this sounds, the REQ system was also flooded with stuff that clearly felt rushed, probably just there to pad the loot pool to keep you from getting the variant you actually wanted when opening loot boxes. The Storm Rifle, as an example, has a variant called the Fury, which, wait for it, is just a little more accurate than the normal Storm Rifle. There were also a lot of variants that were super overpowered, like the Nornfang, the Answer, etc. and so on. They're usually just super overpowered with no real downsides, and as fun as it is to just be unstoppable with the Answer, it feels more like a Call of Duty kill streak than a Halo gun, if that makes sense. I assume these super OP variants are the way they are, so that they're sort of like winning the jackpot when opening up the loot boxes. You know, you want to keep spinning and getting more of these kinds of variants. Loadout weapons in Warzone, like the Assault Rifle, Battle Rifle, SMG, etc., were handled a bit different. They had attachments. This always felt to me sort of like an extension of the loadout system from Halo 4, just taken out of normal modes and put in its own dedicated mode, Warzone. You picked the attachments you wanted, and then you could spawn an infinite number of these weapons. I think due to UI limitations, they couldn't do a proper Call of Duty style attachment menu, so you sort of had to just scroll through this huge list of variants until you found a variant of your loadout gun that had the attachments you wanted. And they accounted for every single possible combination of attachments, which meant each loadout weapon had, gosh, dozens of variants. With Halo Infinite, the variant system returned, but Warzone and its loot boxes didn't. Without a need to flood the game with variants that ranged from, why is this even in the game, to, oh my god, why is this in the game? They decided to take a different approach to the variants. Each gun got just one. The Gravity Hammer and Energy Swords are outliers. But for the most part, the variants just were not that interesting. They were really just stat tweaks. The Sidekick variant gets 2 more shots per reload. The Assault Rifle variant gets longer range, but less ammo per magazine. The Battle Rifle shoots faster, but has worse range. To be fair, I do think it's cool that the Banished variants of the weapons are all white, since that's the color of the Ultra rank for Covenant and Banished units, but I can't help but feel like the variants of Halo Infinite really missed the mark in terms of what they could have been. And it's even more painful when you look at Halo Infinite's store, where there are fully fledged alternate models for basically every gun in the game. Halo 5 also had vehicle variants, and some of these were honestly just cool for aesthetics' sake. You had Tundra Warthogs, Forest Scorpions, Urban Mongooses, etc. I remember if I made a snow-themed map in Forge, I would make all the vehicles on it Tundra variants so that they matched the map's snowy theme. In Halo Infinite, there's no vehicle variants, and you could just buy and pick skins for the vehicles that'll automatically apply when you hop in them. I'd imagine there's a lot of people that are actually happier this way, since it means they can make each vehicle theirs. But I'm the kind of person who prefers how it used to be. The vehicle variants gave Forge maps just a bit more personality. I think most people were let down by how Halo Infinite sorta did the bare minimum with the variants, mechanically speaking. and then they just slapped white or yellow colors on them for cosmetic purposes, while the actual in-game shop got model kits that were so bonkers they could have easily been their own guns. And, as if someone on Halo Infinite's live service team agreed, something interesting arrived to the game. Say you're a developer working on a struggling live service shooter. You got these weapons that you really want to add to the game because you think it'll really benefit the game's sandbox and give the players more toys to play with. You come up with your list of weapons, the 4 or 5 departments you need to coordinate with, the amount of employees who will need to be put on these projects, etc., and then you take it to management. Management likes your idea of new guns, but they tell you, yeah, you can add that to the game, as long as you don't make a new model, no new textures, no new animations, and no, you can't have the help of all those extra teams. These weapons are probably what you'd come up with as a creative workaround: the Fuel Rod Spanker and the Avenger. The Avenger and Fuel Rod Spanker are clearly just microtransaction skins for the Assault Rifle and Spanker that 343 already had lying around in a, drawer somewhere. Don't tell me you don't believe that this wasn't meant to be a $15 microtransaction. Come on, you know it was. These weapons reuse animations and core assets from the assault rifle and rocket launcher, but the developers changed how the guns worked in a pretty substantial way. The Avenger closely mirrors the Halo 5 submachine gun, from the 60-round magazine size to the spread, range. This solved an issue for the social mode since Halo Infinite didn't have a chill, close-range automatic weapon. For the Fuel Rod Spanker though, they changed it from firing rockets to firing those big splashy green things that hunters shoot. They upped the ammo count from 2 shots per reload to 6, and boom, now the Fuel Rod is sorta back in Halo Infinite. Want to know something weirder? This isn't the first time Halo's live team pulled something like this. So the needle rifle was a cult favorite back in Reach. It had the precision of a DMR but could super combine like a needler. It only ever appeared in that game, and when it came time to bring it back for Halo 5, 343 didn't get the budget or dev time to do it properly. So instead, they took the carbine, tweaked the stats to mimic that of the needle rifles, painted it red, and just called it the Blood of Suban. The Avenger and Fuel Rod Spanker are variants that are similar to the Blood of Suban variant of the carbine. I feel like they're creative ways of reusing existing assets, keeping costs low because management is stingy, and delivering weapons the community feels the sandbox needs. And even if you think management should be giving these devs more time and support, which yes, they should be, I still respect the workaround. Infinite Sandbox benefits a lot from these guns, and it's a better game with them in it than without. When the Fuel Rod Spanker dropped, people dunked on it pretty hard. Some even pointed to a fan-made Brute Fuel Rod mod in MCC and said, this was made in a few hours, why can't 343 do this? And I think that argument misses how different a single modder and a massive AAA studio operate. On your own, making a mod for the Steam Workshop, yeah, you could get it done by yourself easily. But developers work in teams, in departments, and within content schedules. It's planned months or even years in advance, and everyone is assigned a job that can't overlap with another person's job. If you work on balancing guns, you can't do the sound design yourself or the animations or the modeling, etc. You need to coordinate with those teams. And anyway, all of this needs to be greenlit by management. What makes modding fun is that you don't need to operate within a strict corporate structure like that. And hey, maybe it's something Halo Studios' management could learn from, loosening things up a bit and letting developers wear more hats if they feel they could add more value to the game. Though, that also opens the door to workplace crunch, lower-ranking employees being manipulated into taking on way more tasks than they can do with the promise that, hey, if you get this multi-team project done solo on top of the work you're already assigned, maybe you'll get a promotion, but probably not. And yeah, AAA game development is just really complicated in a slow-moving machine that just doesn't have the flexibility of a single modder. As games get bigger, studios get larger and less agile. Things like variants are clever ways to quickly get new sandbox items into the game, taking assets that already exist and tweaking them until they mechanically behave like something else. Back in 2015, I thought that all of these variants were just lazy and low effort, but now I sort of realized the only thing lazy was my black and white view on it. My eyes have been opened. Halo's weapon variant system is a good idea in the modern, slow-moving AAA climate, and I hope Halo Infinite continues to receive more variants, and future Halos look at them as a way to fast-track weapons the game might need urgently. In fact, I have a list of Halo Infinite weapons that I think could use some variants that would return classics to Halo Infinite that the fans are clamoring for. Feel free to add more in the comments section, by the way. I like Halo's weapon variants now, and I hope to see more of them in Halo's future. Could this be personal growth? Or maybe I'm just getting old. Either way, bring back the blood of Suban.